Hello guys, welcome back, and in this lesson, which is our last lesson on the basic of CSS, we are going to consider the principles of CSS. So behind the scene, there are some key principles that help define the CSS rules and style that you define. So without further ado, let us dive in and see. Let's remove this first on the body. Don't need this, and also on our style now. We don't need this. So that is fine for now. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to define a paragraph here, for example. And on this paragraph, I'm going to define a lorem ipsum, dummy text here. So what happens is that in CSS, the first principle that you ought to understand when dealing with CSS is that CSS is case insensitive. So for example, if I say that I want my background to have my paragraph to have a background color of green, this will work. All right. So if I go to the browser here, let's go here. You see the background is green. And again, if I do something like this, if I write something like this, background like this, and then I see green, this will still work. If I go back to the browser, do a refresh, this will still work. So that is the first rule. CSS is case insensitive. Doesn't matter the way you define your rules, it will still work. But the best practice or the recommended practice is to always name your CSS in small letters. So I recommend you stick with this rather than trying to show or trying to go against the best practices. Number two is that the CSS styles will be applied to the more specific selector, all right? So for example, here we can have, let us say, we can have an ID of P paragraph 1. We can have maybe a class of my paragraph. So if I say, for example, here, if I say that this is the class background, and then if I say that I want to apply the ID which is PR1 like this, and I say also the background color will be yellow. So in this case, the one which will be applied, let me just add the other one here, which is for P, so that actually you see that it will apply the more specific selector. So if I paste this guy here and I say maybe red. So if you define something like this, CSS will go through and apply the more specific, the selector. So here I expect the background to be yellow, yeah. As you can see, when it refreshes, the background is yellow, and that is because ID is more specific as compared to the paragraph tag or the class tag. The other thing is also, if I go even further and define something that is more specific, for example, if I say, let me paste this guy here, and I go down here and I use maybe, okay, let us leave like that, and then I use maybe a P like this, and then I say this background color is black. So let us go here and see when it does the refresh, it applies black, and that is because uh, this one here, this is very, very specific as compared to other ones. This means go to the paragraph and get the ID. It doesn't just mean get the ID. All right. So that is the second thing. The more specific the style, that it will lead in the precedence of the style application. The other thing that you need to understand is that if I fail to define the style for the children, then the style for the parents will automatically apply to the children. All right. So for example, if I say that I want the body to have a font size. Let's say font size of maybe 30 px, something of that sort. Let me just now remove this. This will be applied to the paragraph. So if I go here, you can see the font is big. And if I go back here and say maybe I want the font to be 60, if I go back, I do a refresh here, you see the font increases. And that is because I haven't defined the specific style for the paragraph. So it will automatically apply the style of the parent. But now if I go down here and I say, okay, let me now maybe say the parent, I want it to be font size 18 px. So this will apply to the paragraph, while everything else which does not have a font size style will be applied from the body. So if I go back here, you can see now the font size has reduced. So that is the other rule or the principle that I wanted you to note, that if you fail to define the children style, then the parent style will be automatically applied to the children. The other thing that I wanted to show you is that all being equal, everything being equal, the last rule will always be applied. So for example, if I say font size for the paragraph is 18, and then I come down here and I say style, I define another font size and I say maybe 34. So this is the last style and that has been applied on this paragraph, while everything in this case is equal. So guess what? This style will be applied instead of the style above on the link. So if I go to the browser now, as you can see now, the font size which has been applied after the main style above is the one which will be applied. So also be careful the way you write your style. If you forget and leave something like this in your code, this is the one will be applied. So you'll be trying to change this one here, but you still won't see the changes. That is another principle that I wanted you to note.